deal with airplane peanuts.
From interviewing comedians at Skankfest,
This is an exclusive, Joke World exclusive,
to landing some of the biggest guests we've had so far,
How are you, Joke World? The comedy media empire.
2024 was another great year for comedy news and Joke World thanks to our loyal subscribers.
Joke World was talking about you.
Who's Joke World?
You know, on YouTube.
I love Joke World. He's the fucking man, dude.
Wow.
And these are a few of our best interview moments from 2024, featuring over 35 different comedians, starting off with the one and only Adam Ray.
Do you have a favorite bombing story from your career?
Oh man, yeah, I did an all black room, Mo Better Mondays at the Hollywood Improv, hosted by D. Ray Davis. Shout out. And the Improv had reached out to me. Rita, the booker manager, the gangster, one of the goats, been there forever. She goes, D. Ray requested you to be on the show. I'm about 5 years into stand-up. I'm like, get the out of here. I've never done an all black room, and I'm a fan of D. Ray, and I know these shows pop off. The energy's fire. So D. Ray brings me up and goes, keep it going, man. From one of my guys, man. I love this guy, man. Keep it going for Alan Spray. Alan Spray. Dude, even if I heard that name as a comic, I'd go, that can't be that guy's name. It was a version of that. Alan Spray, Alan Gray. He fucked it up.
Yeah.
And
For sure, it was.
what's up? Live your life. Let's go. Dude, you guys are adorable. By the way, here's how wide I am. I'm being like, I was doing this all-black show. Hey, what's up? I'm not saying anything bad.
What is a famous comedian matchup that you'd like to see happen in the league?
Famous comedian matchup?
Yeah, out of anyone.
Really? Man, I want to see Brendan Schaub. I want to see Brendan Schaub versus
anybody. That's a great answer.
I think the beauty of a street joke is the wink and the nod that comes with it at the end, because it's kind of a thing you shouldn't say. And there's different levels. I love like a little giggler. I love nothing that's going to alienate a million people, because there are some pretty bad street jokes out there that it is funny, because depending on how deep south I get, the more horrific street jokes will come out. And then I'll have to be like, no, man, no, I'm not like your boy. We're not drinking at the bar. Do not say that to me. We're in the meet and greet line. What's the matter with you? My favorite one that someone told me, it's quick. It's a kid says to his dad, he goes, Dad, what's the difference between theory and reality? And the dad goes, okay, go ask your sister if she'll have sex with the neighbor for $1 million. And he asks the sister says yes. He goes back to the dad and goes, she said yes. And he goes, okay, go ask your mom if she'll have sex with the neighbor for $2 million. So the kid goes, hey, Mom, will you have sex with the neighbor for $2 million? The mom says yes. Kid goes back to the dad and goes, Mom said yes. He goes, okay. And the kid goes, well, what's the difference between theory and reality? He goes, well, in theory, we're a bunch of millionaires. In reality, we're living with a couple of whores.
What is the biggest change that you've seen from your point of view as a panel member of that show since last time you did it in March of 23?
I mean, well, first of all, what I need to keep reminding myself about Kill Tony is not to wear clothes that I like, because all my clothes smell like weed, cigarettes, cigar smoke, spit from special needs people, human shit, whatever they're throwing at us. So that's one. But two, it has genuinely become, not obviously exactly like this, but it's become the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, Tonight Show, of our day, where like you can now, these guys who go, guys, girls, whoever, theys, who go on there and kill for a minute, I mean, it gives them opportunities that they couldn't possibly get from any other type of platform. And even me as a panelist of it, it's cool for me to kind of hopefully ingratiate myself to those Kill Tony fans, because those are, the thing is, like, you'll go on people's podcasts, like, and do things, and you won't see like that big of a tick up in your ticket sales or your social media following, because they're not all comedy fans. But with Kill Tony, they are all comedy fans. Yeah. I kind of feel the same way Nashville has it's become to musicians, where like you'll just have musicians of all walks of life, from arena acts to bar show musicians just walking in and out of Nashville. That's what comedy's become in Austin. It's I'm a New York guy, so I don't want to leave New York, but you have to come through Austin now, and you have to be ingratiated to the Austin comedy scene if you want any chance of advancing in it.
Comedy capital of the world right now, in your opinion?
New York always will be. It's always New York. It doesn't make a difference how good Austin's doing right now. It's a great place, but New York is diverse, whereas Austin is all the same one comic. Nothing against them. That's the bro comic fucking works. You know what I mean? I love it. Dude, I think Shane Gillis is the funniest dude in the world. And then there's just a bunch of offshoots of him.
Tim Bartley, what is the true comedy capital of the United States?
It's Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and there's no doubt about it. There's no second place, dude.
Everyone keeps saying this.
I mean, obviously, do you have like higher levels of talent in other places in higher concentrations? Yeah, but think about all the fucking whack shit that they pack in with it, dude. Philly's just number one as far as density and quality. Sorry, that's it.
For sure.
Right from my boys, what's up?
You know what? I'm gonna just be a dickhead and go Toronto.
Our last two responses have been Philly and Toronto. I think people are tired of hearing about Austin. Is the LA scene really as in despair as people make it out to be?
I mean, you know, I moved to LA when I was 19, bro, and LA has always been home to me. Down there in Austin, we got Adam Egget, we got Curtis, we got all the people from the Comedy Store that made the Comedy Store magical. We got them down there in Austin because the Comedy Store has always been, you know, number one in LA. When you take that dream team away, I think it hurts a little bit. It's like when Cleveland lost LeBron and Kyrie Irving. It's like, all right, we got to rebuild. But I think LA will always be LA, and New York will always be New York. And Austin, we are up there. We are really up there, bro. We're small, but we're mighty.
What city is the true comedy capital of the world right now?
You want to see comedy like f***ing Catapult, or you want to say like the one with the best f***ing times?
Give us both.
Austin's the comedy capital of the world. Rogan built this club there. Any given night you can walk in a 16-block radius and hit 40 clubs. It's cool. Anywhere you can get on. Open micers, anybody. But let me tell you something. Tampa is a good town. But I tell you something, Scottsdale, Arizona, that's the closest a man can come to seeing God on earth, okay? Everyone's attractive, all right, even the guys. And I'm not even fucking gay. They all got money, they all got fake titties. Pussy tastes like salmonella, and it's fucking incredible. You hear me? Incredible.
How have you been enjoying Austin, the comedy scene, just in general?
I love it. I've always had a great time. I got to do some live sketch stuff today. It was very fun. And yeah, Austin's just a great vibe.
Well, how long have you been doing stand-up, and what is your ultimate career goal? You're a part of this big-time sketch comedy brand. You're also a comedian in your own right. What's your ultimate career goal at the end of all this?
I started doing stand-up in 2017, just sporadically hitting open mics in Boston. So I guess that's when I started. I started taking it seriously probably after COVID. I just want to keep making sketches, be able to live, not have a real job, and just do stand-up and make sketches, I guess.
If you're interested in this is where it all goes down. There's I can tell you, there's the next move that Joe is going to do is going to blow your mind.
I was hearing about it on Rogan, like the theater or the festival, either of those things.
I'm Yonder Wizard. I am the head door guy here at Sunset Strip in Austin, Texas. The lead up to it started a couple months ago. Redman was on the phone with Joey in the green room, and Joey was supposed to come by, but he just got too up. Long story short, he said, I'll get you next time. So we're sitting up there, and Redman's like, hey, go downstairs and get Joey Diaz. So I'm like, okay, this is it. He's here. So I come down, and we all get him, and he gets upstairs, and I'm just in shock this entire time. I don't know. I've never seen this room get that loud before. R.A. Shafir starts giving the credits. You've seen him in The Longest Yard. You've seen him on his podcast, The Church of What's Happening Now. And the room erupts. It was like a cartoon with people like leaning over the backs of the row in front of them. You saw it. It was crazy. I think I cried. I honestly think I cried a little bit. It's good for the club, but not just good for the club, it's good for comedy. Like the fact that those guys are willing to come and play our club. We're the other ship. You know, like with the fact that they'll come and play our club is awesome. And Redman makes that happen every Thursday. You never know who's going to pop into these secret shows.
So how is the secret show typically fun?
Redman does that. He will get people that are locals. He'll get a couple local killers. He'll obviously pull a couple good bucket pulls from Kill Tony, and those guys will get secret show. My first couple secret shows was that situation where I just had decent sets on Kill Tony and got to do the show, and that's usually how that works.
Something that Joey's talked about for years is just growth. He has a vision for, it's called the Church of What's Happening Now, the New Testament. So it's, we're gonna take what we had and we're gonna have a lot of fun, but we aren't the same people who we were when we started the church. Joey has a daughter who is getting older. I wasn't doing stand-up, so I think it's just reflective of who we are, and we're still gonna go get crazy. I'm sure there's gonna be a comedian on at some point. There's too many great comics in New York, but there's also a lot of people who you haven't heard on podcasts. The only problem with so many great comedians having so many great podcasts is you hear these people all the time, and that's great, but we're trying to do something a little bit different. It's a lot of people you haven't seen on podcasts before. It's a lot of Joey's friends and family and people who can tell the stories that you've heard from like different points of view.
New York comedian, Mount Rushmore. Who do you have?
Oh, geez. That's okay. Oh, that's a rough one. Now, are we talking about currently lives in New York or came out of New York?
I guess I should know the answer to this. Just say he came out of New York.
Came out of New York.
Yeah, who's known as like, oh, that's a New York comic.
So I think outright have to go with like, this is a little cheap, a little easy, but have to go with Eddie Murphy and Chris Rock.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dave Attell. This fourth one is really tough.
This New York is so deep; it could almost be a comedy Mount Rushmore. That's the crazy thing.
I mean, I think does Patrice count in that way? Because Patrice was in New York for so long. But yeah,
I would say he's New York for him.
Yeah, because I know he was in. Yeah, but I think that like Patrice, Eddie, Chris, and Dave Attell for sure, and all for like very different reasons, but just like. I feel like they embody everything that New York comics are like trying to be and trying to do and everything.
Yeah.
So I think that they're like really apt choices of like Eddie is like, if you talk about funny as a nature, like that's a once in a whenever talent.
Right.
And you talk about like writer, there's Chris, like writer with intention, I think is Chris. And if you talk about just like a real presence in like both community and in like an understanding of where comedy takes you and where it should go, I think that's like Dave Attell, because like he moves differently than anybody else moves in comedy to me, right? Patrice, just because like I think Patrice's voice sort of embodies everything that people try to do. No shade to anybody, but I think sometimes someone could watch Patrice and think the point is to piss people off outright, and it's like not necessarily. The point is to be funny and to share your worldview, and if that happens to piss some people off, then that's part of that's like collateral damage along the way, but that's not like the point. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like if people just leave your show pissed off, you didn't quite do your job.
Yeah. So what would your Houston Mount Rushmore be?
Me, Bill Hicks, Sam Kinison, Thea Vidal, and I would probably put Ralphie May up there, or I'd probably put Ralphie up there.
Here's a Mary Kill for you.
Great.
And these are your characters, not the real people.
Oh, cool.
Dr. Phil, Jeremy, Elaine.
Oh, man.
Well, Elaine, obviously should give you a titty if you call the right number, but so,
well, look, I mean, the first Phil on Kill Tony gave me a real nice bump and has now helped boost my Dr. Phil live show at the Comedy Store into another level. And now we're launching this Dr. Phil theater tour. Tickets at AdamRayComedy.com. Tickets for the 2025 shows are already selling fast. Go get them. Chicago, Austin, Boston, Nashville, Atlanta, Dallas, San Francisco, Vegas. Coming to Vegas January 11th at the Virgin. And then Philly, Arizona, San Diego, New York, and DC are in October, November, and those are almost sold out. Actually, all of them except for New York. Jeremy's a kid, so I mean, he's an adult child. He's probably, he's 38, so I'd probably, Elaine's on the way out, even though she's got probably more energy than the other two. I'd kill Elaine. I'd fuck Phil because of the opportunities he's opened for me, and I'd kill Jeremy because. Wait, what did I say?
I think you're.
No, I don't want to Jeremy. That's. You know what? I don't want to rule anything out. Why don't I ask this guy? Oh man, Mary Kill, Jeremy, Elaine, Doctor. All right, I would Elaine because she's a woman and I'm not gay. I'm married, and I would kill Jeremy and I would marry Phil because again of all the nice things that he's done for me.
What if that guy just gave a legit answer?
If he walked by and goes, Elaine, fuck her, and kept moving, and by the way, that's what I was hoping for. Guys, damn it.
They're like, well, Dr. Phil's done a lot for you, but Elaine's they gave the same in-depth
Or
answer.
they just go, not a fan, and keep moving. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Speaking of the characters, similar question, but different technically. Yeah. Which character do you think would fit in the most here at Skankfest?
Probably Jeremy. I think that's because Jeremy, he probably got an all-access pass to go everywhere, got some loose tums, that's no problem. I saw Big J. Okerson, maybe one of my favorite comics of all time, and I smoked weed for the first time with probably Tony Hinchcliffe, and I maybe bum a cigarette from David Tell, a.k.a. the garbage man from Sesame Street. Yeah, I think Jeremy would fucking rip it up. Look, there's people of all shapes and sizes at this fest. There's people of all walks of life at comedy clubs, but Vegas brings out a special breed, and I think Jeremy would fit right in. And that's what's up.
But my question is, who would win in a Marry Kill between Story Wars, the Legion of Skanks, and the Regs?
Ooh, great question. Marry Kill. I mean, wow. That's a hard question. I mean, look, the Legion of Skanks built everything that I have, and that brand, like I feel like we were one of the first podcasts to make a brand, had a cool logo, had like a thing about it, and so yeah, I would be stupid to say that I wouldn't marry, and I am married to the Legion of Skanks. And then who do I mean, I guess I would have to say, since it's a new guy on the block, we'd have to kill Story Wars, right? We'd have to kill it. It's a new guy on the block. It's a young buck. It's a baby. It hasn't experienced much. It has no memories. Put it, take it out back, do a little drill in the head. Nobody will know the difference. Yeah. And the Regs, the amount of, respect that I have for Robert Kelly. Without Robert Kelly, I have none of this. Robert Kelly was my mentor and almost a father figure in comedy to me.
Do the people at these shows in the city know that you're on the lineup beforehand? And is there a difference in how much you trust a reaction to a new joke if it's told in front of your crowd versus a random audience?
Wow, good question. See, that's why you're the guy. It's a very smart question there. You want both. So I with the Comedy Cellar, I usually do it unannounced. I don't know why. I like it better that way. And at the other clubs, I usually announce. Okay. So sometimes you need your people to kind of boost you along and like kind of hold your hand. Like, I trust you. I'll stay with you. Mm-hmm. And then you also need the other crowd to go, we don't know you. We don't give a shit. It's either funny or not funny. So both are useful.
Before getting into stand-up, you had a lot of weird different jobs. Which is the one that you miss the least?
That I miss the least? That's a good question. I would have to say I was a laborer for a while for my family's construction company, which involved digging ditches to expose plumbing pipes, like sewer mains and shit like that. And that was brutal. That was like overnights and I remember even then I'm like, I gotta figure something out. I was out of shape. You know what I mean? I was like 250 pounds, smoking cigarettes, doing manual labor. I was in no physical or mental state to be doing that. And that would be the one I would least like to go back with. I worked a lot of shitty corporate jobs or cubicle jobs. But I always was able to cheat my way around and figure out where I could kind of steal company time and what I could get away with. But you can't hide on a job. Right. Like you can't, like the hole has to get dug and filled back in type thing. So it's like, there's no hiding, especially when your family's, the foreman. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, you fat asshole?
Was it nerve-wracking at all from your point of view, having to rely on maybe not the people up on stage, but the random audience members to be normal or not nervous or not say anything stupid?
I'm nervous anytime I got to rely on anybody else, because with a podcast or stand-up, I don't rely really on anybody other than my ability to work. Now, obviously, we all collaborate with each other. We do each other's shows, this, that, and the other thing. But primarily, a lot of what we do is our own, right? So it was weird to rely on a production company that I'd never worked with. And listen, we shot 11 segments. 5 of them made it in because the other ones weren't as good. Now I think we know better what to look for. I do think that it was a little nerve-wracking because I didn't know what was going to happen. This could have been a complete bomb. This could have been terrible in the sense that we had never done anything like it before. I hadn't. Even the production company hadn't. They're like, we put a bunch of hot people on an island, they all fuck, or whatever the shows they do. I don't know what they Love Island, Fuckboy Island, whatever it is, that's what they do. This was like, we got to get something good. And this was also like a live show. We have an audience.
Hey guys, real quick, just want to say thank you so much for all of the support that you've shown Joke World through 2024 that allowed us to interview all of these comedians. Obviously, without you guys watching these videos and supporting the channel, it wouldn't even be close to possible to talk to some of these people. So truly, thank you so much. If you want to see even more moments from each and every one of these interviews while continuing to support the brand even farther, check us out on Patreon for just $3 a month. Now, please enjoy the rest of this video while you consider joining the Patreon, link in the description below, starting off with some Kill Tony stuff.
My name is Drew Nickens. I'm from Yakima, Washington. I come from Dallas to Austin. I'm trying to get on Kill Tony.
But are you like ready?
Always ready. I always come down here with the thought that this could change my life. This could change my life if it goes well. So I have to be ready. If I'm not ready, then why would I be here? If you stumble and bubble, that's gonna happen. And me being disabled, I've understood that's gonna happen sometimes. So I don't beat myself up about it anymore. I just do the best I can do, be proud of where I am at and what I've overcome.
Because I've interviewed people that signed up hundreds of times and not gotten pulled. Talk about that just a little bit. Because I'm seeing you up here tonight. You're high-fiving everybody, you're hugging people, you're in great spirits. Talk through that.
I gotta be in great spirits. I gotta have that mindset of, you know what? It's about the journey, not just about the destination. If I'm doing this all the time and then I finally get up and I do great, it'll feel worth it. It'll be like, okay, this is what was meant to happen. And you just have to have that mindset of coming with your heart, with pure intentions. If you don't have pure intentions when you're here, why are you here? Why are you trying to do comedy? Are you just trying to do comedy to get famous? Or are you trying to do comedy because you love being on stage, making people happy, and like having fun on stage?
Why do you do comedy?
I love having fun on stage. I love making people laugh, making people smile, making sure that they have a good time. I like to do that because sometimes I'm not in the best spirits, but I like being able to have somebody who's having a bad day come and see my set and go, yo, you were killer, you were funny, and enjoy themselves. When you know right before they got there, they got in a car wreck, or you know what, they owed some bills that they didn't know they owed, you know? And then I come on stage and I make them forgive for 5 to 10, 15 minutes. Every time I wake up, I'm like, oh man, I got a 3-hour drive, and then if I don't get picked, I might get on a 3-minute mic in time, or I might not be able to get to a mic, and so I'm just driving home without doing any comedy. And so it is a drag when you get here and you see someone that you know and they get called. It hurt at first, but then I realized, no, I gotta be happy for my friends. I have to put in the same energy for my friends that I would want them to do for me, and just put out positivity. And you know what? My homeboy's episode's on tonight. My boy Martian. I'm really excited to see how he did. You know, like, I'm happy for my friends when they get on. And I have to have the right mind frame. If I don't have the right mind frame, then why am I here?
I didn't think I was gonna get called. Man, fuck it. Bro, look.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah, boy! Right. Hell yeah! Michael White's fucking right, boy! Hell yeah! Let's go!
Well, outside of just the battle at the Forum, it looks like you had an insane week just based on your Instagram, hanging out with everyone from RFK, Post Malone, Schultz, Jimmy Carr. What were some of your favorite moments in LA?
Besides Kill Tony, besides the Kill Tony events themselves and the hanging out at those events, was Andrew Schultz. He came to me to talk to me, and he told me that he had seen my stuff, and he gave me good advice, and that's how I ended up choosing the jokes I ended up choosing at the Forum. I'm not saying he's responsible for my loss. Yes, you are. I'm just, but he told me like to focus on jokes that I find funny and that I wanted to tell.
That makes sense.
Because he just played the Forum, so coming from his perspective, I thought it mattered. And then I had a cool little moment where I was chatting to a pretty famous comedian, but then another famous comedian was there. Dave Chappelle was there at the store. Yeah, he came up. I saw Dave Chappelle look at me. He walked up to me. He shook my hand and he said, "Give it up for my friend, Neil Brennan." And he walked away.
That's unreal. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was completely unreal. Very funny.
Like you mentioned, you're switching on his podcast on Not Today, Pal. You currently work for YMH Studios. What is your official job there, and how is it at YMH working behind the scenes?
So my official title when I'm in studio, it's I'm just the intern. And then if we're on set somewhere, I usually PA, so production assistant. On Danny Brown's show, I'm a camera operator. And then sometimes, like if there's a hand needed somewhere, I'll be in the booth logging or switching on a podcast.
I saw your brief interview with Tom and Christina on YMH recently. A little less roasting energy there, but was still very funny. I assume that's because they're your bosses. But how often do you get to like directly interact with them?
Quite frequently, actually. They come in. We do recordings about like once a week. So usually eat lunch with them, which is fun. They're always around the office talking to everybody, seeing how everyone's doing. It's great. It's a great atmosphere, I'd say.
How long does that internship last?
The original internship lasted from around like the end of August, so August 31st until December 31st. It was like a fall semester internship, but they just decided to keep me on board, which I'm super thankful for.
Oh, that's awesome. So are you still in school right now, or is this just...
No, I dropped out.
Oh, that's
I dropped
dope.
Out. Like, yeah, I've been to like 3 different schools now. I've dropped out of everyone. I haven't completed anything really. So
well, you've been doing stand-up for 11 months now. You currently work for a massive comedy brand, and you're only 21 years old. What is your ultimate career dream in this industry?
I want to be a very well-known stand-up comedian, and I want to hopefully what Tom has, own my own production company, and be able to do it. All of this. I think that's a dream right now for me.
It's almost like an internship to be a comedian, which is crazy that exists. Like
it's a lot more than I expected in a great way. And like, it's not only that Tom and Christina I'm interacting with on a weekly basis. Like we have other comedians that are coming in all the time. They'll come do our show, and later on they're going to do Joe Rogan's show or Kill Tony. So it's like nonstop. So I think that has helped me be able to kind of calm nerves on stage if I'm ever in front of like big name comics. So
All right, well, another Kill Tony question for you here. We saw Red Band invite you on The Secret Show. How'd that end up going?
It went great. It was a really fun time. I've done The Secret Show twice now. Both went well. I think my second time was a lot better though. It was super fun. Being in the green room and like seeing professional comics just walk in and out, and like being in that world was a trip. So just taking it all in has been cool.
I also noticed that you were looking down at your hand on stage. Are you jotting down premises on your hand, or was that just a funny thing that you acted out?
So actually, yeah, I did have 2 or 3 jokes written down, because at the end of the day, I'm still new to this, and I don't really have material memorized as well as some of these professional comedians that are they can just go into a bit. So yeah, I did actually have like 2 or 3 jokes written on my hand, and it just the first word or 2 on it just to kind of get me started on the first episode. I got pulled and I was nowhere I should have been. I was inside the building, but I wasn't in the crowd, like immediately in the crowd. It took forever to get to the stage, and I was kind of out of breath, and I forgot all my jokes. I feel like that's a common thing for people their first time ever, or just first time on Kill Tony. I just get on stage and I think I said the word, I was like, well,
yeah.
And everybody laughed, and it kind of gave me literally 1 or 2 seconds to kind of like, all right, what are we going to say? Well, the jokes I told wasn't even what I was planning. I had better jokes, I felt like. It wasn't even what I was planning on telling. I guess it was a presentation or something, but I don't know.
You also mentioned on Kill Tony that you grew out your mullet just to be on the show, which made me laugh, because I got to ask you, I've been trying to figure this out. What does having a mullet have to do with being on Kill Tony?
I just thought that it made me look like more of a character.
Okay, yeah, I guess so.
One night I decided to go hit the open mic, and I wore that blue shirt and the khakis, and I was like, oh, it's kind of like a Forrest Gump thing. So that's when I started doing that. And I had actually written that joke to say that Hans Kim was the one that called me Fat Forrest Gump. But when I was backstage, I was like, hey, did Hans go on first? And they're like, no, he's not going on till May. It was Casey Rocket. So I was like, it doesn't work as well with Casey Rocket. And I was like, so what am I going to do? But then I remembered that Jackson, my friend, went on first, so I could just say it was him,
I was feeling pretty good till this gay comic back there. He said I'm dressed like Fat Forrest Gump. His name was Jackson Nami.
We went back the next week to sign up again, but I mainly went to try to get on the Mothership open mic. And when I was signing up for the Mothership open mic, Cam Patterson walked by, and I was like, hey, what's up, Cam? And he was like, oh shit, Mike Ryan. He's like, you're funny as fuck, dude. And he's like showing me so much love. And then he was like, oh man, what are you doing tomorrow? Come do the regulars at Vulcan. So I drove back to the regulars at Vulcan and just, I mean, it crushed. I did my 5 minutes. The 2 days later, I did the secret show and I did my 5 minutes there. I think I did 7 there actually, but it was great. Trey Campbell went on after me, and Uncle Laser went on before me. It was a great experience for sure. Brian Holtzman was on that lineup. Oh man, you know, you're sitting in a room with all your heroes. It kind of blows your mind. 2 days ago, I was on the regulars again. So I did the regulars twice, secret show, and now my second Kill Tony episode will be airing soon.
We've seen some pretty generous offers extended to other bucket pulls on Kill Tony, from people buying hotel rooms for people that didn't have a place to stay. But raising $22,000 in just 1 week's time might be their most notable accomplishment yet to this point. Was receiving this type of gesture on your radar at all before signing up? Like, when you walked on that stage, did you think that anything like this was in the realm of possibility?
I had no idea. I really just wanted to be on the show, you know? I've been doing stand-up comedy like 4 nights a week now religiously for a few months. I was like, all right, I'm way better at stand-up comedy. Let me try and get on the show. And that's all I wanted to happen. And I didn't even ask Tony. He just did it. And I was like, okay, yeah, of course I'm going to say, yeah, why not? You know, that was not my expectation at all.
Another huge thing that happened was your Hall of Fame ceremony induction featured Bobby Lee. Tony said that he was going to do that no matter what happened in the battle. But did you see that coming at all? And how did that moment feel?
No, I had no idea. I was like, there's no way I'm getting Hall of Fame till like way later, because the guys that already got it were all the LA guys that have been doing it for 5 years. But I'm super glad I got it. I don't really, I used to be a huge fan. I mean, I am a huge fan of the show, but I don't really watch myself, so I don't really know how I fit in. For me, I'm just like scrambling whenever I'm on the show to just try to do well. So I don't really know what my role in the show is. I'm just like happy to be on my favorite show. So I don't really see myself into that universe, because for me, Kill Tony was like, you know, LA, Hollywood, and then everything that happened afterwards is sort of like,
yeah,
I'm just sort of like living it more than I'm watching it.
That's insane to even hear, because like you are such a big part of the show. For someone that's watched the LA version, the Austin version, this whole thing, you know, you in the Hall of Fame is a no-brainer. But speaking of being a fan of the show for a long time, how is it to see the current drum off of the current band versus Joelberg? I mean, that was such a throwback for like day one fans.
I know. Well, the band's completely different. They're actually a band now and less of like a comedy troupe. But yeah, it was interesting to see, because, you know, Joelberg is so iconic. He was so loved, you know, even when he bombed, people loved it, because he would just be like, I'm going to kill myself. And he would give it all for the fans.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that the new fans got to see some of that. And it was crazy doing it in LA, where that's where a lot of the people that were watching from the beginning are. And to see him do that, bring him back. I thought he was going to do a backflip. I guess he got a little old over the years. No, I'm just kidding.
You just bought your own comedy club room on 6th Street in Austin. How has that been developing, and what inspired you to get into the business of the club?
How do you get this information? Where the hell you get? I bought a bar. Me and my buddy, we bought a bar. Cat a corner to the mothership. Not turned into a comedy club really, but on Monday nights, I want to do something for the comedians that didn't get on Kill Tony. So, okay, you came out here and you chilled for 3 hours. Let's do a 10:30 mic so that you could at least get on stage. Because I remember how it felt, you know, waiting to get on Kill Tony. And then like in LA, well, I'm in LA right now, but in LA, bro, once Kill Tony is done, the Comedy Store mic is done. So it's like, shit, where do I get on stage at? You know what I'm saying? So this would be an opportunity for those young comics to get on stage who waited and their name didn't get pulled, or even if their name did get pulled. Come work some shit out.
Yeah, that's super cool, because you're also obviously a Hall of Famer. It's not like they're just going to another mic. It's like almost like a Kill Tony Jr. kind of thing, because it's like you're so related to the show. That's very cool.
Yeah, actually, since me and my buddy acquired that bar, that's where the Kill Tony people are held now. They're complaining about Drake prices, but I'm like, hey, man, I don't micromanage. You know what I'm saying?
What is it like knowing that you have this insane thing happen to you, but you have to walk around? Are people believing you when you're telling them what happened? Is it just a weird like ticking time bomb? Like in 3 weeks, I'm going to be famous. The internet's going to know.
No, I mean, I felt sick the entire time. I wanted to vomit everything inside of me. And it was honestly like the happiest anxiety I have ever felt. Like I'm an anxious guy. I'm sure you can tell that by my act, but that's very true. I'm a super anxious person. And like the time before the episode came out, I got to just kind of enjoy it with the people who I'm closest with. And that was really beautiful. That was really special. So I loved that.
Well, my next question for you here, how are you feeling about Skankfest? What are your expectations for this VIP experience? I'm sure you didn't see that coming.
Dude, I had no idea. So, as you know, everyone's across the street at a bar, Poor Choices, and we have no access to the show. I don't know what's going on. I didn't know who the guests were. I didn't know that was the thing of the night to get. I'm still a bit in shock about it, truthfully. I can't wait. The lineup is insane. It's with people I idolize. It's a little bit unfathomable that I'm in this position. So I'm just grateful, honestly.
I mean, just the massive size of it. You know, Skankfest 1, it was half a joke, I would say. We're sort of throwing it as a mockery to what comedy festivals were. There were comedy festivals that were charging comedians, you know, submission fees. And, you know, we just wanted to essentially throw a big party, not charge comedians to submit, and just make it something that was made by comedians for, you know, real comedy fans. And the first Skankfest was just a few hundred people at the Creek in the Cave, and now we're doing a few thousand people per day in Las Vegas. This one in general, it's the most shows we've ever done, more surprises than we've ever done before. And a big part of that is just the fact that everyone has just gotten so, you know, comedy, there's more rock star comedians than there ever has been before, right? By far, it's the biggest boom we've ever had in comedy. So you're getting sort of like the scale of it has grown in a weird way. You know, we obviously always have massive comedians on, and we're always looking to bring in the best comedians in the world, but our friends have just grown with the festival. And in the past 7 years, you watch the guys that we started with, the guys that we grew up with. Now it's like there's 60 or 70 actual legit headliners on the festival, whereas I think year one, there was maybe a half dozen.
The most underrated.
You're a coward, and that you won't slapbox me in the ring right here at Skankfest.
Lewis,
coward,
like that desperate ex who keeps coming back, asking for another hit, but it's not gonna happen.
Coward.
Dude,
right there.
I'm living rent free.
This fucking coward refuses to give me a slapbox rematch. I've been training this whole time. Jeremiah Watkins, we have winter mittens that we're using. We're doing slapboxing here. And I challenge you to a main event slapbox rematch in the ring, right here on camera, right here, right now at Skankfest. This is an exclusive, Joke World exclusive. Jeremiah Watkins, are you going to accept the challenge here at Skankfest this weekend, right in the ring?
At the moment, I don't accept, but yeah.
You is a pussy.
I'm a pussy, and I'm so.
You might as well move to Austin, bitch.
I'm such a pussy that I beat Luis J. Gomez in a slap fight competition. No,
it was a fluke. I broke my thumb.
Look back at the tape. He broke his thumb fighting this guy right here.
My ankle.
All right.
10 seconds.
Wait, what?
He's weak and he's afraid and he won't fucking show up. You guys heard it here first. Don't even listen to whatever he's about to say in this interview. It's all horseshit. Who wants to listen to that type of man speak?
Lewis faked an illness so he wouldn't do my stand-up on the spot in New York. Who's the real pussy?
That may be true. I don't remember what lie I told you.
Speaking of fighting, though, you're in the ring today with jiu-jitsu and sock wrestling.
Yeah, sock wrestling's tomorrow. They're not allowed to do the boxing. I guess Vegas 2 years ago got mad. They're like, yo, you can't just put up a ring in the middle of Vegas and like have a fight. Like you have to like go through like professionals. So now they've like found, you know, like these workaround things, one of which is Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And I don't have any experience. I wrestled in high school a little bit, and I've done one BJJ class. So I'm expected to be choked out at some point today.
I wasn't here late night when they did the butt naked roast, so I wasn't able to see that beauty. I'm pretty sure it was a whole bunch of people that you don't want to see naked. So, I mean, I know that probably was gorgeous. I didn't get to see that. Nothing too crazy yet.
I didn't get to see Ari shit in a bucket, so
yeah.
I feel like that should be the New Year's Eve ball drop every time we're here is 10, 9. We just, like, Ari, well, you guys can't see it, but from the top of the complex just shits down. There we go. That's the fucking crack camera work I've been talking about.
How was your Skankfest?
I love Skankfest. I went for one day this year because I had some other stuff happening with this premiere and all this stuff. But listen, Louis J. Gomez, I'll say his name right, was a guy who told me years ago I should start a podcast. So like, I always have an incredible amount of gratitude and affection for all those people, Jay and Dave and all those guys. You know, listen, for me to perform with people like Dave Attell is still the highlight of my life. Now, if Netflix wants to compete with that and order a ton of episodes, that would be nice. But that's the coolest thing in the world. Like, to see guys like Bobby Kelly and people you don't see as much as you want, and Bert and all those guys, and like have fun, like that's awesome.
So speaking of online footprints, does anyone ever confuse you with the backup quarterback, Josh Johnson?
Okay, yes. So I was not watching when this happened. I don't know all the details, so I'm probably gonna get this wrong, right? But all I know is that they put that dude in on like a random day. And I was not watching this game. I don't even remember what team he was playing for. I think he played for the Ravens at one point or something.
At one point. He's played like every team.
Yeah, he's played for like 8, 9 teams. And so basically they put him in. I think they put him in because somebody else was hurt, right? And so then they put him in. He got sacked, I think, in the first play. So then I think he was very much concussed, but he was trying to keep playing. Yeah. Because it's like, this is happening. They put you in, right? And so they snapped the ball. And I remember watching this the next day. They snapped the ball to him, and he just like misses it because he's clearly been concussed, right? I didn't know any of this was happening. All I know is like that night, my Twitter got lit up. Like I was getting truly cooked. It was so disheartening because no one was being clear about why they were mad. They just saw at Josh Johnson, and that's the only place. I'm Josh Johnson comedy everywhere else, but I'm at Josh Johnson on Twitter.
Oh, that's so funny.
And so then they thought I was him. So that they were like, "Hey, you suck. You'll never be anything." And so I was just like getting all of his hate, but in my head I was like, I did one set tonight. There's no way that this many people should be this mad. Like, because I was almost like, was it streaming and I didn't know? Like, and in my head, I'm like, I didn't bomb. Why is that? And they were coming like for my life. They were like, oh, man, you ruined my entire weekend. Like, I was like, oh my God. That's also why I know I couldn't be an athlete. Not just because of like the physical limitations, but just that level of pressure. Yeah. Because no one bets on a comedy show to be good. Do you know what I mean? Like no one bets that like at the 15, I'm going to bring it home with a callback. No one is that much of a lunatic in the betting world that they put it on us. So we don't have to get like the ire of someone who's like lost their rent because we're like, oh, was the ball over here? You know what I mean? But I've been confused. And one time they actually used my picture for a headline about him. Oh, that's so funny. But it wasn't like a major outlet, so I don't think it got much traction. It was like one of the more, I think, next tier publications. Okay. They must have just Googled the name, saw me, and then put me superimposed on him playing the game. So it's like the fact that they didn't catch it from that, the fact that it was like my like skinny shoulders smiling and then him on the field is crazy.
What was the process like of getting betting lines up? Who was setting those odds? That is insane and just one of the coolest things I've ever heard.
The first All-Star game, shout out Pat Barker. He's the first ever Roast Battle League commissioner. We've had this idea to do a league for Roast Battle for a long time, but it took the sport, quote unquote sport of it all, just to kind of catch up to itself. And comics had to get good at this sport. So it took years for people to get good, for this thing to spread like wildfire all over the world. So it took about 10 years for everybody to kind of grasp what a roast battle is around the world and become good at it and have years under their belt for us to create a league like it was Major League Baseball or National Football League or National Basketball Association. So then this is our second season. I asked Pat, I was like, I'd love to see like all-stars or like, top 25 like college football. And he's like, done, I got you. And then he picked the 10 best people, 5 from the Eastern Conference, 5 from the Western Conference. I've been wanting betting ever since I saw that Major League Baseball became a real sport when they got into the betting of it all. I was like, I want to be a real sport. I want the spelling bee of comedy to be a sport, right? I was looking for DraftKings and FanDuel, and because we don't really have the numbers like that, like we did back in the 2010s when we were on like Comedy Central, nobody's really looking at us like that. So DraftKings and FanDuel haven't been like, hitting our door down. But there's this one betting app in particular who gets away with being a betting app because it's not betting, it's skilled gaming, right? As if you're playing Call of Duty with a friend and putting money on it, So that's kind of what this is. So that's why we can get away with it. It's like, oh, you know what roast battle is, and you're probably an expert at it. If it's like you and me in a group chat, I'm like, oh, Jake, I got Jeff Ross versus Blake Griffin. I got $10 on Jeff Ross. Well, you want to take the bet with me? That's kind of how
sick.
this works.
Podcasting itself has led to the creation of multiple comedy duos from Bad Friends, Matt and Shane, We Might Be Drunk Tuesdays, all that stuff. Where's it been like for you personally going through this amazing rise up with a partner by your side the whole time?
It's been very great. It's been fortunate. I always say we're so fortunate that we get to do it together. We have been friends for, I think since my second open mic or whatever. Wow. I met him. He was doing comedy for a little bit longer than I was in the Philly scene. And we kind of hit it off right away. We kind of started working together in a very small capacity while we were in Philly. And then we moved to New York and we started podcasting together. We've been podcasting together for 10 years. This is our third podcast, or maybe four. I think it's our third. It's the third iteration of it, where it was a group of 5 of us, and then it was a group of 3 of us, and then it was a group, and then it was just me and him. We've been kind of, I always knew that we had a very good rapport together, and the comedy that we do make together is very, is very good. So it's been fantastic to get to do it with my best friend, and now that we're on the road together, like our AYG live shows, we each do stand up and then we play AYG with the crowd. And it's like, as we get older, it's like, we're not stuck at, the Chuckle Hut in by ourselves for 4 days. It's like we travel with a team of us and we laugh, and it's just, it's been fantastic. Podcasting has led us to be able to do it the best possible way with your friends and having fun off stage while, getting to do the live shows. So it's been fantastic.
Comedy's going through a huge boom right now in general. We just saw all this happen with Netflix. It seems like it can't get any bigger. What are your thoughts on all of this trending upwards? Are you scared of a drop? Do you think it's going to keep going exponentially? What are your thoughts on how big comedy's gotten?
It's wild. I mean, did you see that thing that came out? It showed a graph of the comedy sales over the last few years, and it just 2023 was just like through the moon. I think it worries me because I love it. I'm having so much fun, and we're selling tickets, and people give a shit, and there's so many more opportunities and all that. But I'm scared it'll go away. So, much like any cynical comedian, I can't enjoy the good part. But I'm worried it'll go away. But I talked to other comics who are doing arenas, and they're like, nah, it's here to stay. It's just, this is how it is now. So I guess it's here to stay, and I hope they're right. But it's pretty great. I'm very grateful, and I'm very aware of how lucky we are.
Do you guys take any ideas from the UFC, big leagues like that? Obviously, an all-star game is one of those. But do you get inspiration from them? And do you ever see yourself being as big as one of these leagues in an arena every single weekend for a season? Because comedy is such a universal language. Everyone knows if someone got roasted, everyone's been made fun of. How big do you think this can get?
J-Dub, Joke World. I think this can get as big as the WWE. The WWE starts on like pay-per-view in the 80s and the 90s, and now they're the first live streaming weekly thing that's going to be on Netflix, right? With $1 billion contract.
Yeah.
We want to get there one day. We want to be like the UFC. I remember like when I was, in college, like UFC was kind of just a thing you saw, with your friends like once a month kind of a thing. Like, oh, I know Chuck Liddell and I know Randy Couture, I know Tito, and, all these other cats who are coming up, the Conor McGregors of them all. But now it's like it's a household thing. It's a weekly thing like ESPN. We want to get to that point. We think we can get to that point. So we do take little things from UFC or the Big Three or Paul Raybill and the Professional Lacrosse League. He's got a whole how to build a professional sports league like seminar online that we kind of watched. Yeah, so we want to be professional like that, because this is, like you're saying, it's like Inspector Gadget. These jokes don't go forever, and this is a joke writer showcase, and that's what's so great about this. Like when people are like, "Oh, I don't do roast battle because it takes away from my stand up," has nothing to do with your stand up. This is joke writing. Like you're my subject, Joke World, and I would just be writing about you. And there's so many factions of this. Like you can do territorial roast battles. You can do roast battles about other subjects. It's just joke writing at the end of the day. And it's really about consent and boundaries. So your subject has to consent to it, and then they give you the boundaries of what you can talk about.
How much time beforehand do these meetings usually happen, or exchanging of information?
That's what makes it roast battle. You can do anything. It can be 3 hours before. It can be 15 minutes before. We've had guys that just me. Like DeHer, it was this roast battler from LA and this roast battler from New Orleans. This cat from New Orleans came out named Pickle, and he just wanted to battle. And the guy he had wanted to battle 2 weeks prior had dropped out. And there's a guy who just knows how to just roast off the top of his head named DeHerm, and he works at the Comedy Store, and he's like, I'll battle this cat. So they just went up like maybe 3 minutes before, and it was the best battle of the night.
I did one, and people asked me what was the rest of the story. Wasn't any plan to it. I didn't plan to do 4. It started off as 1, and then people kind of wanted to know the rest of the story. So we started doing it in chunks of 3, I think. Yeah, something like that, chunks of 3. no real plan. I know people want to think, oh, you had a plan to do it. No, mass majority of things that become something were mistakes. You know, Viagra was trying to grow hair. They had no idea they were going there. Oh, let's make my penis hard. Okay, let's go. Let's switch. Let's switch. It's like with the domino effects. When I go through the years, how we planned it after Domino Effect 1. Domino Effect 1 is supposed to be me just doing it. I'm going from here to there. So then once we start laying out the actual stories from year to year, we say, okay, we're going to do from 16 to 19. We're going to do from 19 to 21. We're going to do from 21 to 25. So you go into that year. What happened to me year 17? The two most significant things. Then you go to 18. The three most significant things that happened in that year. It was then 19. You just go down the list of how many things that significant happened to you in that particular year that's putting this story together. This is a series now. This is not me just doing out. This is me doing the series of how things layer out in my life in connection to the next thing. When you do that, and then now in the course of me doing Domino Effect 4, right, is about to come out. It's 2 hours.
That's the longest one, right?
Yeah, longest one.
Yeah.
So I'm getting ready to shoot 2 new specials. Right, this
is ridiculous.
In October, right?
Okay.
So after the 2 new specials, then I'm gonna start the 3-part series of In the Shadows. So that's gonna be 3 parts, and we're gonna go from 25 to maybe 33, which is significant because that's when I changed my look.
It's been about 2 months since you've been legally adopted by Luis J. Gomez. Yeah. What's the worst part about being his legal son so far?
It's just it's a dream. It's I was ready to shit on this guy and say like he never picks me up on time. He's inattentive. It's all about his girlfriend, but he's the most tender, nurturing guy. It's crazy, and I had to get punched in the face by him to find that out.
Yeah. Sad news related to Luis J. Gomez and the whole Legion of Skanks channel. Deleted from YouTube today, out of nowhere. I don't know if you've heard about this yet, but their whole channel was removed earlier today. There's been some backlash from the fans wondering what's going on. YouTube censorship. Have you heard about this yet? And what are people in that circle saying?
So, I just launched my brand new show, Tim Butterly's show on YouTube, and they gave me a warning and took it down because we were talking about a guy with a giant hog. So it's like, they don't want you to say anything these days. Dude's like, yeah, they're trying to censor me. I just want to talk about this dude's enormous unit, and it's like they took us down, but there's like, I don't know, it's very funny to watch these guys squirm and try to like find new ways to put their content up, but like I just went up against it, and I was like I was on a live chat with Google support, like, I have a family to support. Please, you have to restore my views, you have to put my video back up, I'm trying to get sponsorship.
They're like, this guy's talking about giant hogs.
And that's the problem is that Lewis won't kneel down to them. You just have to beg at the altar of Google, and they'll fucking let you back on.
Outside of all the time it takes to hone in the material, how much other shit is involved behind the scenes on these independent projects that other people might never realize?
A lot. Everything. See, I'm so sorry. My superintendent he's here to fix the air conditioner. Do you mind if I just run up and get it? I'm so sorry, Jake.
Yeah, go up there.
This is exactly why I kept pushing it back, because they were supposed to be here at 11 a.m., which is fuck. All right, I'll be right back.
All right.
God damn it. Holy shit. Jake, I'm sorry. My landlord died 2 months ago, and ever since then, it's been a nightmare getting actual people over here. I'm sorry.
It's okay. This is a great clip.
And the super didn't have his translator here, so I'm being like, Quando, I'm learning Spanish on Babbel, promo code B and Ian, so that I can talk to my superintendent easier, so we can fix the things that have been going wrong in the apartment, because I've been here since 2007 and the place is falling apart. Anyway, the hardest part Self-funding your own special is everything.
Last weekend, I was hanging out with your good friend Mike Cannon, and I asked him during an interview who would win a one-on-one basketball game between the two of you. He said it'd be pretty evenly matched, but eventually you'd wear him down with your fat ass.
Yes.
But how do you think that game would go?
I think that's exactly how it would go. Is because that I do have a lunch lady ass. If you kind of drop into any school cafeteria in the United States, a lunch late, there's typically a 50 to 60-year-old woman there with just a huge ass that she needs to, make the tater tots and keep the children in line. And that's the kind of ass I've been blessed with. So I can back down Mike. Also, I think Mike would probably be, I could tell Mike that I was winning when in fact he was winning because he's so high at all times that he never knows what's going on.
We've never played one-on-one, and I think that's by design. Like, neither of us want to see what would happen. It's better left unsaid. I personally think he would probably body me. He's got like 20, 30 pounds on me. He's got a big butt. You just have to back me down and just, take me like I want him to.
Do you have a starting 5 basketball team out of all comedians?
Out of all comedians, my starting 5 would be Mike Cannon, myself.
Nice.
I would take Rick Glassman. I'd take Shane Gillis. Only because you want to have Bud Lights on the sideline, cool off. And then I would, just to throw everybody for a loop, my 5th, I'd take Bobby Lee. Yes, because you thought I was going to go 5 white guys, and you were going to, I was getting ready for the comments. Oh, you racist piece of shit. But no, I brought in everyone's favorite North Korean, Bobby Lee.
Yeah, Lee Sanity is what they could call him.
Yeah, bang.
Could you create your top 5 or starting 5 comedian basketball team?
It would be Chrissy D. Schultz is good. Jason Burke from LA is really good. He's who's the dude that played against LeBron?
Rick Glassman.
Rick Glassman. That's right. Rick Glassman's really good. I mean, is that 5? Let's just
with his
say
suggestion,
it.
I guess
And then Tom Dustin, who's never
And
picked up a
yourself.
ball.
Yeah.
And myself. Yeah.
Okay. Last basketball question for you here. Just on Instagram, I see that you interact with a lot of the same accounts that I like, mostly LeBron history accounts. What's the deal? Can we get
That's public? You can see that, how often I heart those accounts?
But it
saying,
makes me
hey,
happy.
if he's the GOAT, then what does this mean? It's just stats, and I'm like, that's right.
So basically, I wanted to bring this up because I'm from Cleveland, so this has been like my soapbox for my whole life. And no one wants to hear it about LeBron and Jordan, and especially older people who have actually seen Jordan play, whatever. Can you just give us some pro-LeBron propaganda here?
I mean, I just really think it's eras, of course. You can't really say who's greater. It's all hypothetical. Who knows? I feel lucky enough to have witnessed both of them. But if you're building a prototypical great basketball player, you want to do a positionless 1 through 5 guy, 6'8", 260, 280 pounds, runs a 4.3 40, can dunk over everybody, plays defense, is a proven winner, has a huge cock. I mean, come the on, takes care of his kids.
Yep.
What more do you want? Plus, I think that actually, no, I'm not even going to say this. This is going to be a problem.
Well, I don't know how I'm going to fit this into any video that we make. I think this is more just for me.
With a honking cock.
I can't speak for what happens outside of this club, but from hearing comics speak, they like prioritize, and that is the show and that is the comics. That they're our asset. So the little things that make it extremely tough for our staff, when these tables are tight together and the ceilings are low, but there's a science to it, and that so much of it matters. When we pay for a linen service to put tablecloths on top of them so that the comics don't hear glasses clinked on the table, and just little things like that from getting their attentiveness. And the toughest part, I mean, over the years, having to tell people to be quiet and having them not heckle or talk at the table, it's tiresome to say the least, and it's brutal. And there might be good people and they might be good customers, but you always have to say that the number one asset is the show and the performer. And when they know that we take care of our comics and the show will go well, they want the show. I mean, you always financially, that's always, it's a job, they want to make money, but they also want to walk off stage feeling like that was a great show. If you have those tools and you're able to make sure that happened, no one talks more than comics. And it went from me having to reach out to now everyone reaches out to us because they want to do this room, because they want to walk out of here knowing how great that crowd was. You see more and more comics when they do a certain chains and they go Miami, Orlando, most of the time when they do Tampa, I'd like to be the first club that they think of. And a lot of that is comics talk to comics.
Bobby Lee was the first person to take you on the road with him. What were some of the wildest things you experienced on tour? Because there's a lot of stories about Bobby on the road.
Bobby is great. He's so generous with younger comedians and kind of cultivating their talent on the road, giving them an opportunity, because it's rare to be able to do great shows like that. So I owe Bobby a lot. But one thing that struck me is he would, whenever you go out to eat with Bobby, he has a rule. You can eat whatever you want, order whatever you want off the menu, but you can't take it to go. So if you want to box it up, he's like, no. I paid for it. So that's just like an ongoing rule. And it's funny to see younger comics just sort of like discover that rule in the moment because it's kind of a weird rule. I think it's to teach them a lesson, just to don't order so much food, just order what you can eat.
Yeah.
Like I'm not paying for your groceries, pretty much.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. I've never been in a position to pay for a bunch of people's food, but maybe I'd
He pays every time. He's so generous, but that's one of his rules.
I went to one of them strip clubs up yonder, and it was $100 cover to get in.
Damn.
But it was all you could drink alcohol for free. And they had a whirlpool jacuzzi down there in the back, you know what I'm saying? So me, salt, pepper, cinnamon, and nutmeg, she was a guy. We got in there, and I didn't even get chlamydia, right? But I got staph infection. It had the consistency, the water had the consistency of egg drop soup.
First Date is a YMH show, and your podcast just joined that network as well.
Yep.
What's the biggest difference being under the YMH umbrella?
Just kind of being around Tom Segura more and being yelled at by him for being poor.
In your opinion, who's the most underrated comic on this lineup?
Oh, there's some like Muslim dude that looks French. So figure out whoever that guy is. A little skinny guy, looks like a cartoon character from the 1940s, has a mustache. He's very funny. I don't know his name though.
We'll put it in right now. I hope he looks exactly like that.
Yeah, you'll find who he is. You'll see him. He's a Muslim guy.
All right. Well, like I said, we're here in Austin, Texas.
And I want to stress he's Muslim. He's a Muslim guy. I want everyone to know how nice I am to the Muslims. Shout out to the Muslims.
I'm wearing a Megan. What's her name? Rapinoe, because Cannon bought me this shirt for my birthday. I have no idea who this is, and he goes, "You look like this woman." So he bought me her shirt. And I'll walk around the streets, and people are like, "Hey!" They're like, "Progressive." People think I'm like some feminist now.
It's so funny because she was a Subway spokesperson, and my dad said he's boycotting Subway because she was their spokesperson. And I'm like, dude, they've had much worse spokespeople. Like
They all went ill after Jared. After Jared left.
You know Ari Manis, like he would open for me sometimes on the road, and he opens for a lot of people. He would open for Theo. He'd open for Norman. He said this thing. He's like, you can tell who's mostly has podcast fans or who has stand-up fans. Because he loves opening for all of them. But he said when he does Theo's, it's kind of like a party, and they're unruly a little sometimes. And he goes, Norman's crowd is, you could hear a pin drop, like they're locked in. And I've performed on Norman's show before. He did the main room, and I got to perform for a Norman crowd, and it was fucking great, man. I'm like, oh, I love this. It's like driving a car. Like his audience is, I just love crowds that are trained for just great material and jokes.
I've never thought about like performing in front of another man's crowd. Like, oh, this is
It's a thing, man. Like if I perform for a Matt Rife crowd, they may not enjoy me, Like some comedian, because like they just love Matt so much, and they're just kind of like waiting for their guy to get on.
Yeah, they don't love comedy or like fun observations.
Like they're new to comedy. Some of the fans that he's drawn in,
like sometimes like festivals, you'll go see 8 people you've never heard of, but you're like, I just want to hear the good jokes. Like I don't really need to know who the person is. Or like clips will come by. I'll watch clips. I have no idea who it is, but I'm like, I'm interested in if this is funny or not. Like some people don't need to see the face. Some people only want to see the face. Never thought about that really before.
Yeah, that's just a funny statement. You're like, I've never thought about performing for another man's crowd. Like it sounds sexual or something. Like,
it really does.
Hey man, you my crowd.
My perception of the first night was that first bucket pool was most of the disappointment, the ire, the criticism, that she took up time that one of us could have got. And the show was great, except for the bucket pulls. Nobody was any good. It was comical because Mr. Beast showed up at the end with a briefcase with $10,000 to award to the best bucket pull. And they were all equally bad. A young kid who was like 18 or 20 years old went into some joke when he got pulled about what a stud his dad was and all his siblings. And anyway, the joke was going nowhere. The audience was booing. And so out of what appeared to be defensiveness, this young man said, my dad has so much sex that he broke his penis. That guy came on stage, and the comedians, Shane, Matt, Tony, everybody said, well, if this really happened, we want to see the evidence. And the guy didn't want to pull out his penis in an arena. So Tony said, just pull it out and show the people at the table. Now, of course, all of his comedians were sitting behind the table. So he was pulling it out in front of the table and all the comedians in the back. So there were a couple more crappy bucket pulls. Mr. Beast came out, and once again, by applause, it was determined that they called him Split Dick Dad. Split Dick Dad won the $10,000 from Mr. Beast. And the show was funny. There were regulars that came. David Lucas. Man, David Lucas was really something. There was a montage of him from the beginning to the end, and he cried. And he's such a crap talking, roasting guy. To see him be completely humble and the gratitude that he showed was touching. And the audience liked that. The comedians, the comedians weren't out for blood and booing the whole time. When something really remarkable and sweet happened like that, I think most of my peers were truly touched by the performance of David Lucas.
What was your reaction to Ari's balls?
The same as it always is. I've seen his genitalia probably more than I've seen my own husband's, for sure, this last year I have. But that said, every time I see Ari's balls, I think, my husband is 20 years older than that man and has better looking testicles. I would keep them in my pants if I was Ari. We're here with Jared Nathan, superstar from Kill Tony, golden ticket winner, who was out here for the arena show at the Kia Forum. And I'd just like to hear from Jared. What was it like for you to be on stage at the Kia Forum?
It was incredible to be over for that many people. That epic show, it was just incredible. It was just something, it's a huge accomplishment that not many people would say they did, so it was huge.
What was it like backstage before, during, after the show? What was was there an excitement level? Were you seeing a lot of people that you knew or
There's
wanted
a lot
to
of
meet?
people. A lot of new faces, a lot of executives and stuff like that.
Did you see Robert F. Kennedy Jr. backstage?
Yeah, I saw him backstage. I saw Post Malone backstage. I saw Tim Dillon backstage. A lot of people.
It's hard to predict how Tony could improve upon last night. I know I've been gushing about the show, but it really was the most talent I've seen in one place, and the timing, the theatrics, all of it was really perfect, and he had such big names. I mean, Andrew Dice Clay coming out, and he killed. The only thing I can think of is I keep thinking back to the most viewed Kill Tony, and that was Shane Gillis as Trump and Adam Ray as Biden. So I think it would be really great to see Kim Congdon as Kamala and do another one of those Trump running against bits. Adam Ray could probably do Kamala as well. And it would also rub Saturday Night Live's nose in the fact that Kill Tony is better at the parody than they are. I don't know what to expect. Anything could happen, but this is the big night. This is Saturday night. So I don't know what Tony has up his sleeve, but all I know is I'm trying to gird my loins and prepare to have my mind blown.
This is a common theme with all jokes that are deemed too offensive or too far. Robert Pickton, the murderer, is up for parole right away here. That's the big news story. He has served 25 years in prison. He is now up for parole to get out. So because that's news, then they look for anything else attached to it. And then now the t-shirt's offensive. It wasn't offensive when he was in year 24 of his sentence. It's offensive now because it's buzzworthy. When I made the turban joke, it was funny for 4 years. A guy saved a woman out of the river who was drowning with his turban. He unraveled it, threw it in, saved her life. And I championed this guy as a hero. He unraveled his turban like a whip, like a lasso. And the paper said, "Man saves drowning woman." And I said, "This is the work of no man. This is the work of East Indiana Jones," is what I said. It's like, look, I got a magnet. Speaking of merch, East Indiana Jones, right there. Unraveling the Turban.
You've created a handful of short comedy films that star really popular New York comedians, the most recent being Stuck in Park with Joe List, Karen Feehan, Keith Robinson. What's the hardest part about doing these independent films on your own? We know what some of the benefits can be, but what are some challenges that you run into on a day-to-day basis?
I like working with comics, and so it's great to work with them. I think also like scheduling can be very tricky, and producing independent shorts that look really good and have a high production value when operating with limited resources is tough. Just like, I mean, the comics, especially New York comics I like working with, they have busy schedules. For example, comedians, we work mostly on weekends on the road, and that is usually when it's cheaper and easier to shoot film projects. I'm at the mercy of whoever's touring and what their schedule is. So like Stuck in Park, we shot this midweek, which was a little bit harder to do, but it was worth it.
New special Uncaged is out right now on YouTube, presented by Pete Davidson. So my first question for you, what was Pete's involvement in this project and how was it working with him?
Well, me and Pete have been friends for a while. Well, you know, he's a lot younger than me, so but he rose up really quick, so he's always been supportive. And the guys that own The Stand bought this new streaming service. It's called Wits Comedy TV. They wanted to get involved, and then we asked Pete, and they asked Pete, and Pete was like, yeah, you know, he wanted to get involved. So, you know, he's always supportive. You know, he was very supportive.
How long have you been a fan of?
I've been a fan of Kill Tony since the beginning, since there were 15 people in the belly room. I've been going since like 2015, and I've been watching. It's cool to see it go from a little small room at the Comedy Store till the Kia Forum right here.
I'm a newer fan. I've been watching for about a year now, but big time fan. I watch every week.
Honestly, like less than 6 months. I got turned on to it just recently, and I'm a huge fan of it ever since I first started watching it.
How long have you been a fan of Kill Tony?
Ooh, about 5 years. Yeah, I love him. He's amazing.
Like 3 years. How long have you been a fan of Kill Tony?
2 years.
How long have you been a Kill Tony fan?
I've been a Kill Tony fan for about a year.
My name's Sebastian. I've been a fan of Kill Tony for a long time. Before I ever did stand-up, that's for sure. Way before my stand-up journey. While I was watching an episode one day, Red Band said he was going to do a secret show, like a one-day secret show in LA, and I really wanted to just go see it. And I was going through this really hard depression at that time, and I'm not going to lie, I was the kind of guy you'd hang out with, and you just think, wow, he's really miserable. I'm sad now, so I don't want to be that guy anymore. And there was a fella by the name of Casey Rocket, and he made me laugh so hard for about 7 minutes, I forgot I was sad. I almost peed my pants. I couldn't breathe. And I realized the power of comedy. It's more than just jokes. You're changing lives out there. You're changing the chemical balances of people's brains. I think that's amazing. And by the grace of God tonight, we're going to be pulled out of that bucket. So
that makes sense. Well, Alan Spray, thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure talking. Yeah,
Second Vegas high
five. You know, bucket list interview for sure.
Thanks, brother.
Anything else that you want the subscribers of Joke World to know?
Yeah, please.
Anything else?
First of all, big fan. I told you that in the alleyway that we met in. By the way, so shady. Meet me in the alleyway next to the Denny's. Open your mouth. This was very cool. Big fan. You guys crush your content. It's diverse. You cover a lot of ground. You're always putting out new shit. And, you know, you want to be creative, and you guys are doing that. So mazel.
And good job on this network. Crazy. I was watching that too, Nick and documentary, high level. And it's great that comedy is like, people are like interested in this.
Thank y'all, man.
Hell yeah.
This is a big pleasure, man. I fuck with y'all boys.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
You know, I got you some free tickets, Joke World. You're the fucking man. I appreciate your coverage. Honestly, I love the channel. I love what you do. You do it in a great way. You know, it's obvious that you're very passionate about what you do. So I'll always support your stuff and plug your stuff as well.
At Joke World. That's it. At Joke World.
And the world is WRLD.
That's a great YouTube channel, Joke World. Check it out.